deciding to kind of like find your way within it, that defines like who you are in some kind of way.
Right.
And I was like, dang, and it just felt like it was a circle/cycle you couldn't get out of. And so I was thinking like, well, let me go to my actual lineage, and I went and got my done. I went and had my DNA tracked, and so it proved what my cousin showed us in '08, and then it gave me like my full DNA, which included my father's.
Right.
And I just kind of I fully jumped into that because like I feel like I know a whole lot about my American identity. My dad had told me about like all of our lineage from slavery in Virginia to being sold and moved to Texas, and then when they were free, they moved to Freeport, and then eventually came to Houston. And when I looked at the ancestral DNA, it had all of that tracked from the countries, and because like it went from Nigeria through to Cameroon, and then it showed how it made its way to Virginia, and then made its way through New Orleans and into Texas.
Wow.
And so I was like, wow. So from there, I just was, researching and looking at all that, and I decided that this was part of my makeup.
Right.
This is part of who I am, but I'm still American. I'm still me. I've only lived here. And I'm never gonna turn my back on where I came up. I life is weird here when it comes to race, but for the most part, there's a Walgreens down the street. If I cut my hand, I need a Band-Aid. I have power all the time whenever I need it.
Yeah.
I don't take this for granted, but this still is who I am. That's what this means. It came from there.
Right.
So that's when the patterns started to come in. These patterns, these designs that come in. And so they kind of became a stand-in for my own identity as this thing that is from somewhere else, but it's been shaped to fit here.
Right.
Because they're all, like Western clothing.
Right.
But it's been, it has this pattern, this African pattern there. So like it's like my makeup, who I am.
It's been appropriated, or integrated.
Yeah, and so I started to bring that in and that was like my beginning of that research and looking into that part of me.
Right, and you wound up actually traveling over there.
Yes.
To do kind of specific projects.
Yes.
Can you talk about maybe the specifics of that opportunity?
Sure. Yeah. So
you've gone over there twice.
I've been to Nigeria, and then I went to Sudan in April.
Wow.
Yeah. So and that was great, and I think that the Nigeria opportunity made it possible for me to go to Sudan because it was two totally different projects.
Because Sudan was like a mural project.
A mural project, with the embassy. So like that had
awesome.
Nothing to do with the school. So it was and the CAD fund.
Yeah.
So with Nigeria, that was my wanting to find out more information about like my African identity. Mm-hmm. Outside of an American context,
right?
Because I was I could do interviews with Nigerians who live here, but they've been living here, so like none of us are immune to the stuff that is fed to us, the conditioning that's here. No matter where you're from, they start to it comes in. So I was like, it would be great if I went there and had this, did the same studying that I was doing here. Because I was asking these, because I was going through interviews with students, black students and professionals, and talking to them about what is it, what do you think it means to be a black American? What's your experience? Just simple questions, and then asking them about what does the word approachability mean to them. And then that opened this whole bag of issues. And so I was like, man, I wonder if I want to ask those same questions to Nigerians.
Right.
And then kind of figure out how is their identity formed, and how they feel about who they are as a Nigerian. What is it is it connected to their country? Is it connected to their society? How does that work?
Right.
And Yeah, and I was having the hardest time kind of getting in touch with somebody there.
Uh-huh.
And this kind of like fit into some of the stuff I learned there, which is how quickly things move when I did get in touch with somebody. So my eldest brother did a mission trip in Nigeria in 2002.
Okay.
Where he visited probably 5 or 6 states there, and then they went all the way from Lagos to Abuja. They went from south to north. And he did a lot of work there, and he became friends and got connected with like some people who can make things happen.
Right.
And I just happened, and it was just one day we were talking, and then he was like, "So what you doing right now? Like, you got like a year and a half left. What are you working on right now?" And I was telling him about my research.
Yeah.
And I told him I was having trouble getting in touch with somebody. And he was like, I went there. Like, why didn't you talk to me about it? And I was like, I don't know. I just wasn't thinking. And he was like, okay. He said, I'm gonna talk to my friend, and then and then I'll get back to you. And I mean, like 2 days later, my brother calls me. He's like, okay, so my friend in Nigeria is gonna call you, and you're gonna tell him what your proposal is, what your project is, and then y'all just go from there. But are you free for him to call you in the next 5 minutes? I was like, yeah. He said, okay, it's a Nigerian number, so I'll be waiting for it.
Right.
So he calls, and then we're talking. He's like, how are you doing? Is this Spencer? I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, I'm Michael's friend, blah, blah, blah. And so we're talking, and I tell him, and he's like, okay, I like this. This is good. It's very good. I'm gonna talk to some of the people I know, and we'll get back with you in the next couple of days. 2 days after that, I had 3 invitation letters from 3 different presidents of 3 different universities.
Wow.
In Nigeria, telling me that they will accept me to come and do this work.
Wow.
And it was like, and make sure, and they're telling me, make sure that you use these as you're getting your visa, because you're going to need a visa and all this. So everything just kind of happened, just off the word of a relationship.
Yeah.
And so I learned, just before I even went over there, I learned something about like relationships, like how it's valued there. And everything moved from there. So like, I'd been talking to them like every week until I left and went there in July. So I want to say this all came up in, let me see, things started moving probably in late October. Things started moving. And so by the time it was time to go, they had everything set up.
Right.
So I get out there, and they just telling me, whatever you need, just let us know, and this is what we'll do.
Right.
And I just told them, like, for the most part, I'll be there for 3 weeks. Here's what I need. Everything else is really up to how you all, want to do it. I just want to be able to sit down and talk to students and professors about this, and this. Be able to record the conversations, and we take photos, because I'm going to make work from this.
Right.
And they were like, okay, anything else? And I was like, everything else just has to do with experience. Like, I don't even know what I want. I just want to do what you all are doing.
Sure.
And I'm sure I'll just glean whatever it is from what's happening. And I mean, just from day 1 to day 21, it was jam packed with me just kind of learning. And it was amazing to even just land in a place, and it was the first time I ever been somewhere where everybody looked like me. Right. I was just a person. When I showed up, and people were accepting of me without even knowing what I could do for them.
Right.
That's just how it was, and everybody was. They were telling me that life is like the way we deal is it's the relationship is more important than anything.
Right.
That's just how we move. Relationship and being open to each other. This is the way we live.
Right.
And so they practice bridges over barriers. That's what I call it, bridges over barriers. And I was just thinking, like, how is it this way here, and what's the difference between like how we deal with each other, in America?
Right.
So that was the biggest thing, is just kind of like having these experiences and then connecting it to my own.
Did you find? Did you feel like there was a different sense in how you were received, there than how you're received even within your own Black community here? Like, I mean, are there?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so one of the issues we have here is, like I said, when it comes to social conditioning, no one is immune to it.
Right.
All right. So unfortunately, there's negative connotations when it comes to Black skin. It's just something that is pushed in the media and advertisements. That's just the way it is. And even us, people who have this skin, like I said, we see it, and then even if it's like subconsciously, we believe it, and it shows when we come in contact with Black people we don't know.
Right.
I don't trust you. It's something like, it's like I've thought that way before. It's just a way, and because of that, we have this way of putting on like this a mask that we put on for each other of like bravado. It's something we put. It's like, okay, I'm tough, and like, if I'm just letting you know, like I'm not a target.
Right.
And the bad thing about that is suggesting that you would see me as a target anyway. Like as if like I don't know you, you're probably a predator in some kind of way. So I have to show you that like I won't be prey.
Right.
And there's already a wall up, especially in places where there aren't many resources, where things are kind of tough to come by, where everybody has to be really strong anyway.
Right.
And so there's certain places you go to, that's just how it is. Like eye contact with somebody you don't know can mean something, that like because of fear.
Right.
And I realized when I was in Nigeria early on, just from making that eye contact, the first thing that came from that wasn't like I need to show you how tough I am, which is something that happens here. It was more so of acceptance, like, hey, how you doing? Like that's how it was, like, hey brother, how are you? That's what it was like. And I mean, even going through like villages where everybody's kind of like, you just see people kind of standing, and then I remember walking through and making eye contact, and then there'd be somebody with a straight face, and they're looking at me, and we're making eye contact, and he goes, how are you? And I was like, that's totally different, because here you don't do that. You make eye contact to acknowledge somebody, and you just kind of keep going.
Right.
And so there was that aspect of like being open and like accepting, and like, oh, how are you? What is your name?
Right.
For nothing. I don't need anything from you. But I see you. I acknowledge you. How are you? Good morning. How are you this morning? Is your morning going well? Is there anything I can do to make it go better?
Right.
So it was that, in a sense, that they don't have, at least where I was, they're not being taught to not trust those who look like them. If you turn the TV on, and that's who you see. You see us. It's all about like I named the show "I Am Because We Are," right? Because of that communal like spirit that they had, where it doesn't matter how well you know them. It's things aren't well with me unless everything is well with you.
So, do you think that there's any part of that same sort of bowing up experience that we have here that maybe they're experiencing there that you aren't seeing? Because I know that, there are some. I mean, I know that like Christians and Muslims, in Nigeria, I mean, it's
pretty bad right now, Boko Haram. So in any place, there's always something that's happening where you probably would be in a position where you'd have to protect yourself. That's why I was saying, like, where I was, it just happened to be, I wanted to go to a place that was a little bit more remote. Yeah. Something that wasn't too heavily influenced by Western society or culture. But in Lagos, where there's a lot more people